Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, "I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks." But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban.
Good question. This is about Florida's proposed 6-week abortion time limit. Now, a 6-week time limit, that would generally be seen as a pretty pro-life measure. And Trump said he would have voted against it. But then the pro-life activists in America, a lot of them, they were up in arms. They were saying, "Trump, what are you on about? If you speak like this, we're not going to support you anymore. You can forget us endorsing you." And so he changed his mind and said actually he would vote for it after all. And Trump's been asked to explain why he's changed his mind. Let's hear the answer.
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote.
Well, basically, there's no answer why he's changed his mind. He straight away goes to the extreme case of saying they would allow abortion in the 9th month. So, okay, but so why vote for a 6-week ban? Why did you change your mind? It's not really quite clear. But what Trump wants to do is to talk about the most extreme points of view on the other side. So he talks about this governor of Virginia, who's a Democrat, who did in an interview, it really sounded as if he was saying, in some cases, wait and see if the baby's born, then decide whether or not you're going to keep it alive or not. I mean, he did seem to be saying that. Tim Walz, the vice presidential candidate with Kamala Harris, he also is an abortion extremist. There is no doubt about that. But what Trump's not doing is putting forward the case that every life matters. He's trying to talk about the extreme situations instead.
Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother.
Again, I think that confirms that Trump doesn't get the every life matters life, because human life conceived in rape and incest is equally valuable to any other. Where the life of the mother is at stake, then that's a different matter, obviously. But that's another interesting insight into Trump's attitude to the pro-life cause.
Each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government.
Now, Trump seems to be saying here, whether the unborn are killed or not, that's not such a big deal for him. The important thing is that the proper constitutional democratic process is followed. Again, I'm not sure how that can follow. That'd be a bit like saying, some states opt for slavery, some states said they didn't want slavery, so that's good. That's the way the Constitution is supposed to work. Well, I think on an issue like that, surely the moral consideration's got to override anything to do with democratic process or constitution or whatever. Your objective's got to be to save the unborn, not just to have the system working properly.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Well, that's the host there, issuing that as though it was a correction to what Trump had said. But Trump hasn't said that. I mean, the hosts were terribly biased through this whole thing. So the host then just handed this on a plate to Kamala Harris.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies.
Now, what Trump was talking about, quite fairly, is some of the things that Democrat politicians have said about abortion that were very extreme. Now, this idea of abortion, well, it wouldn't be abortion, letting a baby die or killing a baby after it's born, if it's unwanted, then this is not some unknown concept that Donald Trump's dreamt up. There are philosophers, many philosophers around the world, so-called ethicists, who say that's absolutely what should be allowed to happen. Some say up to 6 months, age of 6 months. Some say up to the age of 1 year. If parents change their mind and decide they don't want that child after all, then they should be able to kill it or have it killed. So what Trump's pointing out there, he's not making it up. It is on the lunatic fringe, but he's not making it up. And Democrats have discussed these concepts, but it's not the main issue. The main issue is plain and simply the value of human life at every stage.
And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
Well, of course there's going to be punishments. If abortion's illegal, that means there's punishments if you go ahead and do it. I mean, that's common sense, isn't it? But again, Kamala Harris wants to go straight to the extreme cases, which were, 1%, under 1% or whatever. Now, just like Donald Trump, the situation she does not want to talk about is the standard abortion situation. A woman going for abortion, 10 weeks pregnant or whatever, for social reasons. That's the vast majority of abortions. That's what they should be talking about it. But Trump and Harris, they don't want to.
And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
I find that line pretty annoying, actually. I've heard John Swinney use the same sort of line when he basically speaks to Christians and saying to them, if you adopt this point of view that's totally opposed to your Christian faith, that doesn't mean that you're abandoning your Christian faith. I mean, who does she think she is to declare what amounts to Christian teaching or not? So it's very frustrating hearing that line being used, and I hope there's no one that actually swallows it. I really hope so. And the other thing she's doing, she's trying to present the abortion case in Republican language. It's about freedom. It's about the government not interfering, which again, so politically that might be quite clever, but I hope no one's taken in by that.
Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
I mean, she made a total mess of that one. It started off with this person we're supposed to feel pity for in an emergency room. Then by the end of the sentence, she's in a car in the car park. I don't know what's going on there. But this idea that abortion bans mean that women having miscarriages can't be treated properly, they have to be left to die or whatever. I mean, that's just total nonsense. And the Kamala Harris knows that and has been dishonest in putting forward that argument. But again, it's trying to find the most extreme things rather than focusing on the mainstream 99% of abortions.
A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term?
Again, Kamala Harris trying to go for an extreme case. But Donald Trump's already said he sees incest as an exception. Again, where the debate needs to be is the value of every human life. But neither of them want to go there.
If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
She's accusing Trump of wanting to introduce a national abortion ban, even though he's never said that. This idea that he wants the government to monitor your pregnancy, I mean, what on earth is that all about? But the same thing, accusing your opponent of having the most extreme views you can imagine. And here the host there, thanks very much, says it all.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted.
Now, Trump, quite rightly, says that he doesn't want a federal abortion ban. He should do. If he was generally pro-life, if he genuinely thought that every unborn life was as valuable as any other human life, he would want a federal ban, but he doesn't. But that's what Kamala Harris is accusing him of. But then Trump, bizarrely, says that everybody wanted Roe versus Wade to be overturned. That's what everyone wanted. Well, it's not. That was massively opposed. Huge number of people in America, were, maybe even a majority, were outraged by that. So what's he talking about?
Would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
Right, at last, a slightly challenging question for Kamala Harris. Simple question. and she gives no answer to it whatsoever. And the hosts don't press her on it. They don't say, you haven't answered the question, tell me what limits you think there should be. So this accusation they want abortion up to full term, well, it sounds like it. I mean, I think that's generally what pro-abortion activists do want, and there's no reason to think Kamala Harris isn't aiming for that as well. I mean, currently in Britain, abortion up to full term is allowed in the case of disability, and there are plenty of people who want to decriminalise abortion so it's available up to full term for any other reason as well. Now, Kamala Harris says it's offensive to women, insulting to women, this idea that some of them would want an abortion, right at full term. But they do, and they would. That would, I mean, it might be rare, but that would happen in some cases. This idea that it's offensive to women to suggest that, again, I find that frustrating from politicians when they try and encourage people to think they've just been insulted or offended. Not a good tactic. Now, if this debate was a school debate competition, how would you mark these two contenders? I think you'd mark them both pretty poorly. Just repeated failure to answer the question, and instead of putting forward their own case about the real heart of the issue, they just accuse the other person of having really extreme views that probably they don't actually hold. Another thing I find frustrating with Kamala Harris is when she's speaking, she often sounds as though she's about to start crying. She's trying to be so emotional and empathic. And yeah, I find that a bit irritating, to be honest. So to sum up, the Democratic Party in America are pro-abortion fanatics. And yeah, I think they would like to remove all limits on abortion. In terms of after babies are born, well, there's nothing concrete there yet, but who knows what the future might hold. Now, Donald Trump, I think he's unprincipled. I don't think he's pro-life as a matter of personal conviction. But is he better than Kamala Harris on the issue? Well, yes, definitely. But leave it to the states. Is that a pro-life position? I would say it's not. That is not a pro-life position. Donald Trump is not going into this campaign saying he wants to save the unborn, that every life matters. That's not his message. Now, he's not pro-life, but I think he's influenced by pro-life activism. His advisors will be telling him, look, there's this many people who are really concerned about this issue, so you need to make the right noises in that direction, which he does to some degree. It's quite a difficult balance for him, but that's what he tries to do. Now, contrast that debate, though, awful though it was, contrast it with what you'd see in a UK or Scottish election leaders debate. Well, abortion wouldn't get a mention. It's not a live issue, really, in UK and Scottish politics. It's maybe becoming more of one, but it's not something that would be a headliner in a leaders' debate like that. Right, would we like it to be there? Yes. The last thing we want as pro-life movement, the last thing we want is a settled consensus that no one bothers talking about. We want it to be a live issue. How can that be made to happen in Scotland? Well, there's two ways. A strong pro-life movement, and a pro-life movement that is absolutely explicit in saying we're not going to vote for you if that's your policy. If you're not defending the unborn, then forget it. Okay, we're not going to support you. We're going to call you out. We're going to name you as a pro-abortion politician or party. We're not having that. So we need a strong movement like that. And we also, alongside that, need a pro-life party so people can vote for what they believe in. And guess what? That's what the Scottish Family Party is. So thanks for watching. Hope that was interesting. Do come along to our conference on the 9th of November in Glasgow. There is a link below, just a Saturday afternoon. Thanks for watching.